have to love this time of year. Now that the Chiefs have won the Super Bowl, it means that the next big global sporting event is the Daytona 500. While us die-hard fans will be watching year-round, this is the one time of year when casual sporting fans and sports media will be paying the most attention to NASCAR, and for some, this could be your one and only chance to make them a fan. So, what kind of story do you want to tell them? Would it be the 2007 Daytona 500 full of storylines and an incredible finish? Would it be the Cinderella story of Trevor Bayne winning in his second start in 2011? Could you perhaps have a fire interrupt the race, sending us deep into the night for a champion like 2012? Or could you run the mile high line all the way to the end and a dominant driver win like 2013? On second thought, maybe not that one. Or how about this one? Just 10 years ago, I think we quite possibly saw one of the greatest Daytona 500s ever. Let's take a look back at what, in my opinion, is an all-time classic. Now, before we begin, let's just highlight a few key notes before this race began. Number one, the last time we raced at a super speedway was Talladega in the fall of 2009, when Jamie McMurray would score his final victory in Jack Roush's number 26 Ford. Irwin Toles would discontinue their relationship with the team after 2009, and McMurray was already aware that he was without a ride for 2010 until his former car owner Chip Ganassi and partner Felix Sabates gave him the opportunity to drive the number one, which they had recently acquired from Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, with Bass Pro Shops as their only secured sponsor sticking around with the team after Martin Truex Jr. left the number one to race for Michael Waltrip's number 56 car. Number two, the sport's most popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has come into this season winless since Michigan in 2008, and going into this race, he had experienced a high by winning the first ever NASCAR-sanctioned iRacing race in the number one AMP Energy Impala, but then in the Nationwide Series, he went for an intense and wild crash flipping down the backstretch at Daytona. But going into this year's 500, something just felt good with the team. Crew chief Lance McGrew felt that he believed it was the best car that he had ever brought to a Daytona 500, qualifying second behind teammate Mark Martin. Meanwhile, probably the odds-on favorite to win this race was Kevin Harvick, the 2007 winner of this race, who had also won the Bud Shootout the week prior, and he would also finish second in his Gatorade duel just barely to Jimmy Johnson. On the day of the race, things were exciting and everyone was ready to get a new season started. Fox Sports was going into their 10th season covering and broadcasting NASCAR, and NASCAR had no plans on restricting bump drafting like they did at Talladega in 2009's October race. Legendary country singer Tim McGraw gave us a great pre-race concert, and to start this race, legendary racer, owner, and now Hall of Famer Junior Johnson, who we sadly lost 10 years later, would give the command to fire the engines in this race. Mark Martin would lead us to green flag, and he would proceed to lead lap 1 of the 2010 Daytona 500 with Earnhardt Jr. in the high line falling back. It wouldn't take long for trouble to strike in this one though, as Brad Keselowski cut a tire resulting in a spin that would collect his teammate Sam Hornish Jr. as well as Regan Smith in number 78, ending their days early on lap 9. Shortly after, on lap 14, Dale Jr. would go to the front and he would stay there for 4 laps, giving Junior Nation plenty to be excited for. After this, a handful of drivers would cycle through as the leader, and by lap 45, AJ Allmendinger would be one of those unusual names who would see the lead. This was good signs for Richard Petty Motorsports early on. It looked like they could be contenders in this one. By lap 65, Joe Nemechek's day would be done after he spun out and hit the wall, bringing out another caution on lap 65, and he was not happy at all.
Right, what was that all about?
Sounds like he's not happy.
Good question.
Nemechek thought that Sam Hornish Jr., who had made it back out onto the track after his damage early on, had actually wrecked him, when in reality this was one of the earliest instances of a car being knocked loose purely from a push of air from a car behind him. Now this is way more common today than it was then, but back then it was really just an unusual circumstance. Meanwhile, during the start of this race, we've seen a dominating performance by both Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch, as the two of them would combine to lead 49 of the first 82 laps in this race. By lap 77, we'd see another caution when Mike Bliss lost control off of turn 2, sliding and hitting the inside wall. We'd continue to see more drivers take the lead as the race progressed, seeing 14 drivers lead the race by lap 100. By lap 116, John Andretti, God rest his soul, would cut a tire, hit the wall, and bring out another caution. Now at the same time this happened, Jimmy Johnson realized his tire was also flat, and he had to pit on lap 117 when the pits were closed. After this, it was believed that NASCAR had discovered the cause for tire issues, and by lap 122, the red flag was displayed as NASCAR had found a pothole that was actually formed in turn 1. During the winter of 2009 and 2010, Florida had received an excess amount of rain, more so than years past, so it should not have been a surprise for this to be an issue. Now this race was halfway done, so NASCAR could have ended it, but surely NASCAR wouldn't just want to give Clint Bowyer the Daytona 500 victory, who was the leader at the time, so they would do all they could to fix the issue, keeping a red flag in place for 40 minutes and 45 seconds due to track repairs. Over an hour later from first noticing the issue, we would go back green on lap 125, lap, and at this point, the two teams that seemed to be dominating was Richard Childress Racing and Richard Petty Motorsports. Wow, doesn't that sound weird in 2020? However, by lap 142, one of Petty's cars, the 43 of AJ Allmendinger, would get loose off of turn 2, bringing out the caution yet again. Following this, we'd continue to see the field build their way to the end, and having had an unexpected red flag, this race was being pushed into the evening, producing a slicker track, increasing the level of excitement in this race. 153 laps in, and it really does look like Kevin Harvick would be the best car this day, having led 30 laps in the race. However, once again, NASCAR would have to red flag the race once again, as that pothole was back and way worse than it was earlier. This would result in a 45-minute and 35-second red flag. However, they did get the track done. This one wasn't over yet. We would finish this race, and it was clear that this one would be decided under the lights at Daytona. As the laps would wind down under the lights of Daytona, you could really feel the momentum shifting. You started to see guys do things they hadn't done all day, and you really got the vibe that we were in for something special this night. That was until lap 194 when Elliott Sadler got loose and turned Ryan Newman into the wall, which would mean we'd rack him, stack him, and try for a green-white checkered finish, but this would not be the end, as Bill Elliott and Joey Logano would be involved in a crash on lap 199, meaning we'd need to try this at least one more time. It looked as though Greg Biffle could win this race, but he'd be prepared to bring us back to racing by lap 203 for another green-white checkered finish. Prior to Elliott's crash, some drivers were able to position themselves in a prime position to use the momentum and make a crazy move, including Kevin Harvick and Jamie McMurray, who found themselves in the front when Casey Kane and others would bring out the caution yet again. The third time is a charm, right? Well, it would have to be. Here we go. 2 more laps to write your destiny as a Daytona 500 champion. Kevin Harvick has been a dominant car all day, and on the final restart, he found himself looking to win this race for the second time. But the one car, Jamie McMurray, would oddly enough find his way around some old Roush Fenway friends Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle. Getting a push from Biffle, McMurray would go to the front of the field with 2 to go, while Harvick shuffled back, and meanwhile, Dale Jr. began an insane charge on the high side after being out of the top 10 only a few short laps ago. McMurray would take the white flag in the lead, but could he hang on for the biggest win of his career, or could his former teammate Greg Biffle make a pass? He would sure try. Biffle dived low into turn 1, getting in front of the one with Bowyer and Earnhardt Jr. in tow behind him. Then suddenly, Clint Bowyer would swing wide off of turn 2, giving the assistance to the one of Jamie McMurray, and in came Dale Jr. with by far the craziest run I've seen at Daytona after a shove from David Rudiman. He shot his Amp Energy Chevrolet sideways through the smallest gap from Clint Bowyer and Greg Biffle into second. There it was, NASCAR's most popular driver had his second Daytona 500 in his sights, charging from 10th to 2nd in a lap and a half. If he could pull this off, it would have been a run on par to his father's famous comeback in 2000 at Talladega. But the bad thing was that his pusher, David Rudiman, he didn't take the gap that Jr. found. He fell back, Jr. was all alone, and Jamie McMurray drove into the greatest day of his racing life and quite possibly one of the greatest finishes and moments of the Daytona 500. This man did not know what would be in store for the 2010 season just a few months ago. Heck, this team didn't know what they'd be doing. The last remaining sign of Dale Earnhardt Incorporated won the Great American Race, leading to McMurray's greatest season yet. In 2010, Jamie McMurray would go on to score 2 more victories, one at the Brickyard 400 and the other in the Bank of America 500. He'd also pick up a win with Junior Motorsports at Atlanta in the Nationwide Series as well. But more important than this, McMurray saved his career that night in many ways, and just listen to the emotion and joy he had that night.
Unbelievable.
You're spinning your tires, Ed. I'm going to get him straight.
It was awesome. Thank you so much.
How about that run down the back?
Every kid growing up dreams of winning the Great American Race. Does reality tonight match that dream?
I told my wife today, I was like, she's like, if you win tonight, oh, I'm going to cry. It's unreal. It's I thought if I made it without seeing my dad or my wife, I'd be okay, but it's just it's unbelievable, really. I can't explain it. And
Hi.
it's just it's a dream. I mean, it really is, and you know, to be where I was last year, for Johnny Morris and Chip and Felix, Bass Pro Shops, to take a chance on me and let me come back. It means a lot to me. And I just, what a way to pay them back and to give Christy a happy Valentine's Day, and my dad's here, and it's just very emotional. But after we won Talladega, we went to McDonald's. So I think tonight we'll have a Big Mac.
Wait, did you hear that? McMurray said he would celebrate winning the Daytona 500 by having a Big Mac. Jamie McMurray came into this race not sponsored by McDonald's, but he returned the next week sponsored by McDonald's, and they would stick with him all the way until his final Daytona 500 in 2019, all because of what happened 10 years ago and him having the opportunity to promote them after winning the Great American Race. And that is why, in my eyes, the 2010 Daytona 500 will always be a classic to me. So, with this in mind, by the time you're watching this, it's quite possible that I'm already on the road to attend my first ever Daytona 500, and I really hope that the 2020 Daytona 500 can be even greater than this 10-year-old predecessor. Let me know how you liked the 2010 Daytona 500 down below, and tell me about your favorite Daytona 500 moments. If you enjoyed this, then please leave a like on the video. It really does help my channel out a lot. And if you're new here and you want more content like this, or if you just haven't done so yet, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you can learn more whenever I upload a new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at DannyBTalks. I stay pretty active on there. And if you see me at the race this year, please feel free to say hello and chat racing. I'll probably beat a guy in Alex Bowman gear. Until next time, I appreciate you for watching my video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye guys.